Math and Science. In this video, I'd like to show how to subtract mixed numbers by regrouping. Let me review how we go over this, and then I'll show you a couple examples. First, we regroup or borrow from the whole number before subtracting when the top fraction is less than or smaller than the bottom fraction. After you find a common denominator, determine whether or not you need to regroup. If you need to regroup, take one away from the whole number and add the numerator, to the denominator to get your new numerator. If you're subtracting from a whole number, you take one away from the whole number and then use the same denominator as the bottom fraction. This number will also be your numerator because the number over itself equals a whole number. So let's work a couple examples and see if this makes any sense. Okay, so the first one we are going to work is, sorry about that, let's get it in focus. Okay, first one we are going to work is 5 3/10 minus 3 1/2. Okay, so what we have here is, let's go ahead and write it, 5 3/10 minus 3 1/2. Okay, so in order to get the common denominator is 10, so this becomes 2 will go into 10 5 times, so we multiply both by 5, so we have 5/10 minus 5 3/10. So let me rewrite this. So we have 5 3/10 minus 3 5/10. Well, you can see from this that this fraction is smaller than the fraction here. So we're going to have to borrow a number. Okay, so when we borrow the number, we take the numerator and add it to the denominator. So 3 plus 10 becomes 13, and this 5 becomes 4. So we have 4 3/10 minus 3 5/10. Okay, so now when we subtract, 4 minus 3 is 1, and then 13 minus 5 is 8/10, and then we can simplify that by dividing by 2, and so that becomes 1 4/5. Okay, and so there's the first one. Gets a little messy in here. I'll work another example. In this one, we have a whole number. So we have 17 minus, I'll write the minus here, 9 2/3. Well, with this one, we don't really have anything to subtract from, okay? So what we do is we borrow 1 from the 17, so the 17 becomes 16, and then this takes the same number as, because 3/3 equal itself, so we have 3/3. You always use the bottom number of the other fraction you're subtracting. So now we have 16 3/3 minus 9 2/3. Well, we don't have to find a common denominator on this one, so now we just subtract. 16 minus 9 is 5, and then 3 minus 2 is 1, and we keep the same fraction. So, 16 minus 9 is not 5, pardon me, it is 7. So that becomes 7 1/3, okay? So since we didn't have a fraction to subtract from, so what we do instead is just borrow 1 and then put 3/3 so that we don't have to find a common denominator. And let's work this very last one. Let me get my page set up properly. And what we have here is we have 20 and 1/8. It's kind of hard to read that. Okay, minus 7 and 3/4. Okay, we have to find a common denominator, and the common denominator is 8. So 4 times 2 equals 8, and 3 times 2 equals 6. So now we have, I'll rewrite this so it's not so messy. We have 20 and 1/8 minus 7 and 6/8. Well, now we have a problem because we can't subtract 1 minus 6. So what we do is we borrow 1 from the 20, and that becomes a 19. Add the numerator plus the denominator. 1 plus 8 is 9/8 minus 7 and 6/8. As you can see from this, it's they get a little messy, but that's just part of it. Okay, so now we have 19 minus 7, which is 12. 9 minus 6 is 3. And since we have a common denominator, that becomes 8. And that is simplified or reduced. And so that will be your answer. Okay, so I hope that helps. And that is subtracting mixed fractions by regrouping. Hope that helps. And Moo Moo Math uploads a new math and science video every day. Please subscribe and share.